Okay, so since there's so many reviews out there for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, I have decided to add my own take at this, my own little stab or jab, if you will. I've already made a review, but the audio wasn't quite right. It has like an echo in it. It's my only review. It's my only like non-spoiler review, I guess. I did spoil it a tad bit, but anyway, so this movie is directed and written by Christopher Nolan, the director and writer for the Batman series, starring Christian Bale. I'm not gonna go off comparing his other works here. I just want to stick with the Odyssey, which is based off of Homer. That this epic poem was made so many millennia ago. It was literally written before Christ walked the earth, before Jesus himself walked the earth. It's BC. And the reason why I point that out is because this is like one of the earliest forms of literacy known to man when it comes to any civilization, any people say Western civilization because the West was based off, European, based off of other countries, England, Italy, Russia, and all that other stuff, but even Greece. And people on YouTube, on the internet, point out the fact that there are no Greek actors in this movie. I don't even know if they were really accurate with Oppenheimer, and I know that I said I wouldn't really compare Christopher Nolan's work, but Oppenheimer being the last one that came out, that movie was 3 hours long. That movie, Oppenheimer, I don't know. I know he was an American, but I think he may have like Russian roots or whatever, or German roots or something. But that movie probably isn't even like, this is just a guess, it's not even completely accurate. You had other people playing certain roles. Well, that was based off on reality, not an epic poem that's based in fiction. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, well, if this were based off of a video game, it would be, you would be upset, or, if it's your favorite video game. And they have done that more so. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, that came out in 2021, was directed by a director who said that this will remind you of Resident Evil. I was inspired by the game, and there was even a few locations that are directly from the game, and that couldn't be far from the truth, even though you can see what they were doing, obviously, if you follow that game or play the game like me. I'm a fan of Resident Evil, but still, there was so much wrong with that film comparing it to the game. Same thing with Silent Hill, Return to Silent Hill. It didn't stay in theaters but 1 week, just due to the simple fact that it wasn't like Silent Hill 2, the original game on PlayStation 2, or the remake that came out. I played the remake, I didn't play the original, but my point is, people get upset with that stuff because that's modern day. That's within this century. When we're talking about something that's over a century, like Wuthering Heights, that came out earlier, like last year, and was still playing in January, that movie with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi, he's a white British actor. He played a role called, the role was Heathcliff. Heathcliff is actually, he's a colored man. I think he's multiracial. It's not exactly black, but he's colored. In the original Wuthering Heights book, the actual story, he's colored. So why do we have a white man playing him? Well, see, people go crazy over little nitpick facts like this when the story is based more than a century ago. However, they won't say anything about Wicked. Wicked, both parts 1 and 2, you had the two witches, aka the protagonists. They were both portrayed by non-white people. One was a Hispanic woman, Aria Grande, or I forgot her name. I think that's her name, right? Aria Grande. She's gonna be in the new Falco's in-law with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro. Looks funny. I saw the trailer. Then you also have, I forgot her name. She's that black woman that's playing the Green Witch, Elphaba. Forgive me, I forget names. I'm not gonna bother looking up on IMDb or whatever. But my point is, that was clearly race swapping, because that movie Wicked is not even based completely on The Wizard of Oz. It's based solely on the play called Wicked that actually is based on the story of Wizard of Oz. But this film adaptation is based on a play. Well, in the play, the two protagonists are portrayed by white women. I think one of them is Hispanic, but the point is they're white. So we have a Latina woman and a black woman playing being switched for the role. They're playing these two main characters in the film adaptations of Wicked and Wicked Part 2. But nobody said anything. That's clearly a woke thing, woke, that everybody talks about. And I'm going to get into that while I'm mentioning that. But nobody said anything, with the race swapping. Nobody has said anything. But they want to mention how the Odyssey is not even accurate. And the Odyssey was, like I said, the original story was an oral story. It was told by mouth. It was a play. First of all, it's fiction. Second of all, it was made over a millennia ago. This is BC we're talking about, before Jesus walked the earth. And people were saying, well, it's still relevant today, the themes. Yeah, the themes are in the movie. The one by Christopher Nolan, this one, the one that came out, this past weekend. They're in the movie. The themes are still there. And I say it in quotes because that's what people use as the argument. It's just that every single part is not the same. Here's what I think of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I hope you stayed with me for this. It's a remake. You may ask, well, what's a remake? Well, I've seen other reviews on video games like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake, and somebody pointed out to me, this is the Bowman, this is credit to him. A remake doesn't try to make another copy, another hard copy, another shot-for-shot copy like you had. We recently had How to Train Your Dragon. Somebody took the actual animated CG movie and then toned it into a live action using real actors. And not everything was spot on. There was some race swapping. Just going to leave it at that. But it's pretty much a shot for shot. And that's what people asked for, yet people still complained about that very thing. Then most recently, we had both Lilo and Stitch that came after that. Another animation that got toned into a live action. Not really shot for shot on that. That was actually a kind of a remake, if you will. Then more recently, we had Moana that came out like this, I think it was last weekend before the Odyssey. And once again, that's a shot for shot, more or less remake. Not even a remake, that's a shot for shot copy, a live adaptation copy of the original animated movie. And people complain about that because The Rock is not as animated as he was. But keep in mind, there's a difference between voice acting and actually acting in front of a camera. They're two different things. And I'm not going to get into details, but there's just no way The Rock can give that much energy about an animated character when he himself is playing a real life adaptation of an animated character. And I know it's not real life, I know it's all fiction, but the point is it's supposed to look real, because that's why you have live adaptation with real actors. The point I'm making is nothing is going to be completely spot on, shot for shot, especially something that is over millennia ago. We got something that is, like I said, it's BC, it's ancient Greece. Ancient is the key word there. Anything ancient, ancient Greek, ancient Roman, ancient Egypt, ancient... Sorry, my phone went off there. My apologies. Anything that has ancient attached to it is pretty much saying it's BC, before Christ. Like, please look up what BC. Anytime you look at a date, like the Ice Age or the dinosaurs, when the dinosaurs were wiped out, or when they roamed the earth, I can't really say my words right. Yeah, it would tell you BC. That means before Christ. AD means after death, which was after Jesus Christ's death and resurrection. But that's how we divide the time of the world. That's why we have the 20th century. It's the 21st century AD, after he was killed and resurrected from death. Okay? Now, this is important because this immediately cancels out the nitpicking. I know what people are going to say, well, the themes are still relevant. Okay, great. Guess what? The themes of the Odyssey are not really different from any other take on the Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's version of it, his remake, is pretty much the same concept. It's about a man who he was involved in this Trojan War that lasted an entire decade, 10 years. He basically came up with this rather clever way of infiltrating the enemy's home, sneaking in via this Trojan horse. If you watch Troy, it's pretty much like that, and what got to me is how close these men were. He said, shit and piss, meaning that you had people dying in there, and whenever you die, you shit and pee. Your body does that to release whatever bowels it has, whatever essence it has. My point is, Christopher Nolan has in that one scene how stressful and troublesome that was, because essentially what you do is you're showing me how that would look for you to be a man amongst other men, where you're having to smell these guys in close proximity, kind of like the slaves when they were being put on the slave ships. If you want to get with reality, they often it was told how close they were, even as they were sleeping, lying down on the ship. You were next to guys that were, so some guy died, you'd be forced to smell his dying carcass, if you didn't get lucky to jump ship, and die your own way out. But what I'm saying is Christopher Nolan has done it in a way that seems very suspenseful. A lot of people are comparing this to like a horror movie because of the whole Cyclops scene and the giant scene, and even that of like the zombie scene. I'm not going to go into that. You'll find out on your own. And anything else. And the whole the scene with Cersei, the so-called witch. I'm not going to say it's a horror movie, but it does have horror movie elements, or at least they're kind of, they're not outright scary, but if you were to think of it in reality, they're not like jump scary. They actually do horror in a different way. They're kind of like that lingering feel, but it's more like a psychological thing versus being chased by an entity. It's like, you're having to run from this enemy, you're having to get back on the ship, you're having to get out before you get pulled under. There's a massive scene with the giants having to run away from them. There's a massive scene with the Cyclops having to sneak their way out of its cave and get back to the ship. Odysseus goes through so many trials and tribulations, him and his group. And he's constantly seeing people dying off. Each and every trial and tribulation, and I call them trials and tribulation because the gods, and they believe that, the Greek gods, they're kind of putting this dude through his own trials because he's done something that has really upset at least one of his gods, Zeus. And the reason why I say Zeus is there's this whole thing in the movie about Zeus's law, which is called something else in Greek. I don't remember what it was, but it's Zeus's law that basically says for anybody to come as a voyager or visitor, kind of like if they're a tourist or they're visiting you, you are to supply them with food and drink. Don't turn them away. There's even a couple of scenes with homeless people, beggars as they call them, that they come for food. Obviously, they don't know where to turn to. They know that these people have parties. They eat and drink like it's the last day on earth. And hey, if you're a beggar and you can't get anything on the street and you find out that so-and-so is having a party, why not go in? The fact that they didn't even lock the doors, that these beggars can even get in their own doors, is surprising to me, because nowadays that don't happen. But according to Zeus's law, they pretty much left their doors open. They didn't really turn anybody down. They let so much as beggars in. And yeah, there's some people, there were some characters that treat beggars like shit. For example, Robert Pattinson's character, I think his name is Ananias or something like that. I don't quite remember, but he does a spectacular performance at this guy who's just an utter douchebag. He doesn't really like, beggars and but he's kind of slick about it. He has a friend that's that's he does the same thing. They both kind of bully people and kick people away, and even so much as kick animals. There was a few scenes of animal cruelty, if you will, for those who are sensitive to that, especially when involving dogs. So I'm having to look it up on my phone, right? Paribus is the name of that guy who kicks people around. Played by Corey Hawkins. He's known to he's often seen in scenes with Antinous, I think his name is, played by Robert Pattinson. And Antinous, he's a character in and of himself. There was a particular arc with this guy involving Odysseus and his younger brother Sinon, played by Elliot Page, used to be named Ellen Page. There was some stuff that the far right, the conservatives, are saying about that regarding his I don't know I really don't know how to address this person because you're trying to go from when you're trying to go pre-transition, post-transition. About his transition, I'm just going to say it like that. Elliot Page, he gives I kind of feel wrong for saying that because it goes against my religion, because I don't believe in the transition. Well, I know that's why people say they, but Elliot Page's performance is good. The actor still got it. He still got it. Okay, I'm just gonna say that he I don't care, he, she, whatever. He still got it. It's very good. I think. I don't know if he should get an award. I don't know if Elliot should get an award, but it's good. There's this particular moment when he's pretty much used as a sacrifice so that the Trojan War can even be picked up by the Trojans, because the whole idea is that Odysseus has he's gotten his men to build a Trojan horse out of the wood from their ship. Don't ask me how that got destroyed. I guess it got destroyed in the fight. And they converted the parts of their ship into a Trojan horse so that they can give this gift, and I say that in quotation marks, to the Trojans as a peace offering to say, no more fighting. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because Odysseus lied. It was never a peace offering. It was a way to get in so they can take out the enemy from the inside out, from their home. And that's exactly what they do. Including with Odysseus' Emperor, this guy is very, he's quite a big guy. He's got that black armor that people keep talking about. I'm trying to look at his name because I'm not familiar with the Odyssey. It would take a while to know the name, but I'm looking for shit. I forget the name. But so it's Agamemnon, played by Benny Safdie. Benny Safdie was in Oppenheimer. He was one of the scientists that was helping Oppenheimer build the atomic bomb, and so I was like, I've seen his face before when I looked him up on IMDb. I've seen his face before, but I couldn't pinpoint it. You can barely notice that it's him. That when he's Agamemnon, I guess, sounds like a Digimon's name, Agamemnon. But you don't know it's him. I mean, he's the tallest person on set, too. That's easy. He's like, I think he stands at about 6 feet tall, give or take. But it's not that. It's how. It's why is he even doing this? Why is he fighting the Trojans? One negative that people point out is that Christopher Nolan doesn't go into why the Trojan War is even being fought in the first place. What are they fighting over is the thing. And to me, that just sparks my interest to do research before I even say anything, because that could have helped. But to me, that's even better, is to assume you would already know, because people are saying, well, the director just assumes you would already know. Yeah, most people that go watch this movie do know why. I don't know why, because I haven't even researched it yet. What are they fighting over? Resources, something to do with like embargoes or trading routes or something like that. Trading routes on the sea. They do mention that in the movie. But I think for a movie like this, you have to watch it at least 2 or 3 times especially if you're an outsider being somebody who's not familiar with this poem. I've heard of it. I haven't really read it. I did not read it in high school. It was actually not part of my required reading. Thank God. Anyway, I think it's because it's so old. You have to watch this movie a few times to kind of start picking it apart, analyzing it, and understanding it. So, going into the review, so the idea is to sneak into the Trojans' home, kill them from the inside out, and, that's pretty much what's done. So, the reason why this is a problem is because Odysseus realizes that it breaks Zeus's law. It actually breaks both Zeus's law and the law of Athena. Athena was like the wife of Zeus, according to Greek mythology. She was the wife of Zeus, and I think even his sister. But she's the goddess of wisdom and love, right? And hunting, I think. Zeus was the god he's like pretty much like the god of mankind. He created mankind, so he's the god of the sky, of lightning. When people think of lightning, when people think of Zeus, they think of lightning, a lightning bolt, Zeus's lightning bolt. They also think of Jupiter, the Roman counterpart for him, or Thor, the god of thunder. I was about to say love and thunder, but thunder. Anyway, so Zeus is, Zeus's law. You never see Zeus. You do see Athena, but Athena is done rather cleverly. She's not really seen as a goddess form. She's seen in the form of Zendaya, Tom Holland's wife. And, oh, by the way, Tom Holland plays Odysseus' son. I think his name is Telemachus or something like that. Yeah, Telemachus. Look, these are some pretty weird names, okay? These names are just, they're awkward, so they're a little bit hard to pronounce. Telemachus, who's looking for his daddy, who he never met, like some driveling bastard, is what Robert Pattinson's, Antinius says. Yeah, that's that scene from the trailer. So he's looking for his dad Odysseus because he's never really met the guy. Odysseus left when he was born, when he was not when he was born, but when he was a baby. When he was like, he wasn't even an infant at this point. He was just a straight up baby. Anyway, so he's looking for his dad. He believes his dad is still alive. Everybody else thinks he's more or less dead because he hasn't shown up. Everybody else has returned from the Trojan War that lasted 10 years. Even so much as Agamemnon, he returned well in advance before anybody did, to the point he had a surprise homecoming. Surprise meaning that has something to do with his wife. I won't go into details because I'm trying to be non-spoiler as possible, but just watch out for that. And so there's that. So I wanted to mention that Trojan horse because that's so significant to the story. That's in several of the posters. That's in the trailer. There was a whole 10-minute sneak peek during Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you watched it in IMAX or any other format, you would see that 10-minute sneak peek before the movie played. They did something similar with this movie involving Dune Part 3. Yeah, I saw it in IMAX, and there was like a 6-minute long sneak peek, or they call it a prologue of Dune Part 3, so be prepared for that movie to be sold out in IMAX, because Dune Part 2 was sold out for like a solid month, at least in IMAX, more than any other format. This movie, The Odyssey, is actually sold out for the next month, more or less, in IMAX. So it's hard for me to even find another seat because I don't want to see it in the other format. I mean, I might as well because I've already seen it twice now. First in Dolby Cinema, then in IMAX 70mm. And you might as well see it in the biggest format possible because go ahead and go on out. Anyway, so the movie is good. Like I said, I liked the movie. I thought it was suspenseful. I liked how it's not really made for the old school reader, the person who has read the Odyssey. It's made more for the modern audience, and I know I'm going to get some hate for saying modern audience. It is for the modern audience because the modern audience has not even read the Odyssey. I think the ones who read the Odyssey are obviously in the margin they're in the minority, and that minority, like any minority, really any of them, they have to speak out, they have to express their frustrations, their so-called victimhood, they have to attack the actors, at press screenings and online. They have to attack the director, saying he's making an atrocity of the film, he's lying about the film, this film is not even historically accurate. First of all, it's not based on history, it's actually based on a poem that is roughly based on the time period of that time, but that's what I'm saying. It's the time period of that time. The themes still apply. I was actually thinking about 1996 or whenever it came out. It's Romeo and Juliet, or better yet, Romeo plus Juliet, with not Robert De Niro, but Leonardo DiCaprio, and another actress, the actress that was in Terminator 3: Rise of Machines. That was a modern day remake during 1996, that time, version of Romeo and Juliet. And we even said it's a retelling of the story that still has the same themes, but instead of swords, it's guns, it's gang related, because it reflected the time period in which the movie came out. Just like the original reflected that time period during, Leonardo da Vinci's time. William Shakespeare's time, I'm sorry. We have a retelling of that same story with the same themes, but a retelling in the modern time, of course, 1996, or whenever the movie came out. The Odyssey is not even like that. It could have been a 2025 or 2026 version of the Odyssey using the same themes, but having modern day, but that would have been boring, because the name Odyssey has an old ancient Greek feel to it, vibe to it, energy to it. So if you were to remake it in 2025 modern day with like your typical speedboat, or what you're gonna do, have like a chase scene and guns, no, that's not gonna work. That's gonna immediately throw people off. If Christopher Nolan were to do that, if he were to take Tenet and put that into an Odyssey version, no, it wouldn't have worked. They would have seen it as him trying to remake Tenet, but with Odyssey. Like, what you gonna do? Take that boat scene from Tenet and make a 2-hour at least film of boats chasing each other and shooting each other with guns? No, that's not gonna happen. So to me, I think he did right. It's just, I guess it helps because I'm an outsider. I think I'm in the majority though, because most people have not really even read the Odyssey. They probably, if they did read some of it, they didn't finish it, because it's not even made in narrative form. It's probably been made in narrative form. But the original, and I'm saying original because everybody says the original, they don't ever talk about new editions, remakes, new translations, or anything. They always say original. The original was an epic poem. Poem, P-O-E-M. Poems are almost like songs. Songwriting is based off poetry. Okay, so anyway, it's not in narrative form. Narrative form is what modern day books are. Modern day narratives. Like if you pick up Twilight or Goosebumps or Harry Potter or 50 Shades of Grey, it's in narrative form. Paragraph form, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand all the hate for this film. I don't understand the nitpicking. It's like they're picking and choosing big movie titles to hate on, just like they did with Supergirl. People were hating on Amelia Earhart because of what she said involving the LGBT community, how they should be prideful. And I know I didn't like it when I heard that either, but at least she didn't really get up there to Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler not only did mention she destroyed Snow White. Well, she didn't destroy it, but she talked bad about Snow White and the Prince. No, 1937. So we didn't do this time. Yeah. But she also got political with Gal Gadot involving the Israeli-Palestine war. She got political. Amelia Earhart didn't get political. And I know I'm digressing from this review, but I'm just saying that people are going off the rails, off the walkers, Walker, R-O-C-K-E-R-S. I feel like I have to spell everything out because of my speech impediment. Just because the movie is not on par with those standards. It's like you got leftists that were complaining because they weren't being included in, things weren't diversified, and then when they got that, they were still bitching, and then the people on the right were like, you need to stop this. The people on the right were in the right for talking about this. Now the extreme people, the conservatives, the people on the right, they're just like the leftists. Now they're bitching. They become their enemy. They have adapted their enemy's argument style and nitpicking every little thing that could possibly be wrong with the film. They called Ballerina a Mad Max saga. I'm sorry, Ballerina from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. They called that woke and Girl Boss, She Don't Need No Man type of thing, and they called Furiosa a Mad Max saga, the same thing before Ballerina came out. And those movies are nothing about Girl Boss. Female boss babe, whatever. If you look at movies like Underworld or Terminator 2 or Resident Evil, by Paul W.S. Anderson, before any of this woke stuff came to be a cultural thing, nobody said anything about the female lead role, the strong female lead, as Adam Does Movies says in his reviews. But if you get one little character wrong, for example, Helen of Troy, she's portrayed by a black woman, the woman from Quiet Place, Day One, also from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Also, she was in Us, directed by Jordan Peele. You know who I'm talking about. I don't have to mention her name. Lupita Nyong'o. There, I mentioned it. There you go. YouTube algorithm. I hope you're happy. But she's playing a double role. She's doing what Michael B. Jordan did in Sinners. She's playing twins. So she's playing Helen of Troy along with her twin sister. I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not going to try. She's basically the wife of John Bonthal's character. John Bernthal, his name, this is weird, I can't pronounce anything anymore. He's the younger brother of Agamemnon. So, yeah, Agamemnon, I had to look it up on Google just to be able to pronounce it. He's his younger brother, and if I look at the name, Menelius? I don't know. Mia Goth is in it. She has a minor supporting role. She's in a few scenes. She plays the female servant of Penelope, who is played by I have to look up Anne Hathaway. And it's amazing. This one actress alone, Anne Hathaway, she has like 4 or 5 movies out. She was in The Devil Wears Prada 2. She's going to be in a movie called Virility, as well as a movie called The End of Oak Street with Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, and the actor of that. I'm not going to get into his name because it's not immediate in my memory. She was also, besides this movie, I think she has one more role that she's in. I can't remember. Just look up her filmography on IMDb or Google. But yeah, she's really she's putting in the acting chops. She's putting in the hours, the work. Also, Tom Holland's got another movie with his wife Zendaya. Of course, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Be sure to check that out. I know people are gonna reference this movie when they make the reviews on Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Just saying. Anyway, so yeah, you got Travis Scott in this movie. People are bitching about that. To me, that did not affect my viewing of it. He didn't sing. He was just playing a role, basically somebody who makes speeches, reference to that time period. But people don't like it because it's a black guy in it. The conservatives don't like it, I guess. Charlize Theron. She's a character called if I can remember her name. Charlize Theron as Calypso. Yeah. So they got old Furiosa in it. Yeah. Let's see. You got Himesh Patel as Eulochus. I'm gonna have to watch this movie a third time just to be able to pronounce these names, or at least read the poem, or at least find some aid on how to pronounce the names, because this is all Greek to me. You know that phrase? It's all Greek to me. I finally get what that means. Ain't that some shit? Anyway, Ryan Hurst, aka Beta. And there's a reason why I mentioned the name Beta. I will be sure to include that in just a little bit. He plays Mentor. That's actually his name. He's not just a mentor. He's literally mentor. Not the mentor, but they took out the mentor. His name is mentor. That's just his name. I guess whoever made that up, I don't know if it's the director or the whatever makes, they said, like, you know what, just give him the name mentor. Don't just not bother with the name, because these Greek names are hard as it is, man. You can, how many Greek names do you want? Can we just have one English name? Because for those who are bitching about this movie not being in English, there's an English name for you, mentor. I don't see how that's not English. Anyway, let's see who else. Oh, Samantha Morton as Soke. That's that witch. She's not really evil. You know, you can kind of sympathize with the character because in the movie she is a kind of a victim, if you will. I mean, really, she's kind of a self-made victim. Like, nobody asked for it. It's kind of one of those people who they want to call out men for being like pigs, so she feels victimized because she feels like she's going to get attacked by every man that comes upon her little island hub, this nice little house on the island. It's cool. I can go into spoiler details about this movie. I plan on doing it because everybody's doing it now. At least some people are. There's this one little moment when the men, including Odysseus, they come upon the inhabitants of this island who turn out to be animals, but the animals do not respond like that, like the wild counterparts would say. Like typically the wild untamed personalities would have them respond in a way that's like, at least a lion would roar, at least a tiger would growl or get up. The animals don't even so much as get up, and you wonder what is up with them. Then you learn why. So I don't want to go into that. I kind of do. It involves pigmen. There's a little hint for you. But I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to suppress that urge. You get Nolan in it. This movie. I don't know his name. I don't know his character's name. I'm sorry. It's all good to me. And okay, for the sake of the rest of this review, I'm just gonna, for the sake of the rest of the review, with what I can, I'm just gonna go into more details about it. Not explicit details, but I'm going to the actual review. So the movie's score is done well enough. It's not the best. It's not really too memorable. There's a few good score songs I wanted to use. Anytime I open Shazam on my phone, I'm trying to learn what the song is so that I can find it within Spotify or Apple Music and download it, have it. But I didn't feel entitled to do that. I really don't like doing that in an IMAX screen because it's kind of distracting, no cell phones out policy. But if I'm ever by myself, I like to tap in Auto Shazam so I can get that nice score. It's a pretty good score. It's not overly memorable, but it's a good score, Cinematography, it's just about as good as you can expect from a Christopher Nolan movie that's made with 70mm IMAX of all things. Look, it's good. It's hella good. It's so good that there's some moments that do look like horror scenes, scary scenes, horror scenes. They're not really horror movie per se, but you can see the psychological horror within the scenes. Like I said, you don't have those jump scares, you have just kind of a suspenseful, lingering feel of having to sneak out of something to get back to the shores, to get back to the ship, to run away. And there was that one moment. It kind of almost got me wanting to see the movie again because of that. That's the Cyclops scene, by the way, if you get what I mean. So you've probably seen that in the trailer at least, or whatever. I know that people have gotten some hints about this movie, so I'm not too worried about spoiling it, but I'm trying not to. Then you got the very giant scene. That's it's done with less time than the Cyclops. The whole Cyclops scene took like 15 minutes, if not more. Definitely more than 10 minutes. So between 10 and 15 minutes, while the whole giant scene took like 7 minutes, maybe 7 to 10, but the Cyclops took like, I think, around 15. As for everything else, they took their time with it. The movie is kind of slow in bits, but I think it just does that for story building purposes, so that you have the explanation visually from every scene. You don't have everything explicitly given to you like exposition. It's just straight up, hey, this is why you see this scene. But not everything is clear. If you have to get there early because you learn why Odysseus feels so guilty for what he did with the whole Trojan horse. And that's the reason why he doesn't want to immediately go home, because I think he feels like he won't be given the hero's welcome that he would like to get. He feels like Zeus's wrath would come upon him the moment he returns home, because they don't really know everything. That's what this movie is about. Is one theme is the people back home on Ithaca don't know what really happened. They don't really know what happened to Odysseus. He could tell them what really happened. And this is the idea that most people don't know the entire story of the war that the soldiers do know. Like, they can give you a recount of what happened. They don't know. So you can be celebrated all you want as a soldier returning home. Your audience don't know what happened. You can be chilled at, you can be laughed at. They weren't there, so they didn't they didn't see the horrors that you had to experience. You know what I'm saying? And the soldiers, they go through some, like I said, trials and tribulations. I say trials and tribulations to think about Odysseus' perspective, because it's all kind of like the gods punishing him for that one little mistake he made with the Trojan horse, but they're using his men as a way to psychologically get to him, because him being a leader, being a king, first of all, he's having to lead these men to all these places. Immediately after the giant scene, the scene with the giants, his lieutenant, his second in command, is like, dude, we need to get as far away from him as possible. Odysseus is like, no, go back to the same island, but dock somewhere else. I'm saying dock because I've been playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resync, so just put that in now. Anyway, so he goes back to the same island, but he goes to a different area of the island, and that's where you encounter Circe, the witch that, uses a witchcraft to turn into Pikmin. Anyway, so that's an example of the stupid mistakes that Odysseus makes, the decisions, because he sees the giants tearing apart his men, cutting them to bits and stuff, and it's like a horror scene. It's a sad horror scene. Yet he has the audacity to return to the same exact island, just a different part of that island, thinking that's going to be okay. And it is okay for an entire, maybe 5 minutes at least, until you see how, what's the word? Conniving Circe is, meaning that she's plotting something. Anyway, but you understand why she's doing it. I guess I'm not gonna say the character deserves sympathy, because it's one of those things where she blames men. She thinks all men are the same, and immediately Odysseus has to prove himself wrong. He has to prove her wrong. He has to prove that he himself is not like other men. He says, spoiler alert, spoiler warning, these men, they just want to go home. Like, did they hurt you? Did my men hurt you? No, but they would have. They just want to go home. And from that moment on, you know that they just had 10 years fighting this Trojan War. They just want to go home. And she's like, okay, I'll turn them back into men, back into your disguises. She literally says that. She says, back into your disguises. Like, she thinks that men being men, human men, that's the disguises. The true self is pigs. That's kind of a feminist perspective, feminazi, so you can kind of see where the people who are conservatives would talk shit. I think Christopher Nolan is mocking us. He's mocking people. He's mocking politics. He's doing exactly what Alex Garland did. Alex Garland, Civil War. Garland, yeah, the director of 28 Weeks Later. He made a film called Civil War that came out in 2 years ago, 2024, that was kind of mocking people's perspective on the whole cultural war that this movie, The Odyssey, is given into, as well as Supergirl. Yeah, he's mocking people because it doesn't have to get this extreme. It's turning into an actual civil war to where people are willing to die on their beliefs, and they're willing to, quote unquote, kill each other on their beliefs. That's not a quote, that's just me saying it. I guess I'm saying that to protect myself from YouTube's algorithm flagging me, whatever. Anyway, he's kind of mocking us because he has the audacity to include a film boss character that is so much as saying the shit that, like this, go back into your disguises, men are pigs. Now, I don't agree with that myself because I don't like feminists. I don't like feminism. I don't like it. But I'm not going to attack the actress Samantha Morton for choosing to play that character. She did, in fact, play the character of Alpha in The Walking Dead. You know, the Whisperers, I think they were called. The ones that walk among the actual dead, the walkers. They're called the Whisperers, right? And I say that because earlier I mentioned Beta, played by, what's his name? Brian Host. He was in another movie called Remember the Titans. Yeah, and as well as he was also in Bates Motel, you know. Anyway, so I mentioned that, you know, Brian Host, like I said, he plays a mentor in this movie. He plays, by the way, mentor's death, I'm spoiling it, I'm spoiling, I know. His death was kind of like, I'm trying to remember where I left off. So I think I was talking about Helen of Troy and her being the wife of, so it was Helen of Troy that is the wife of John Barthar's character. I'm not really going to go into the names because I don't remember the names. It's all Greek to me. But him being the younger brother of Agamemnon, yeah, you will have to watch the movie like 2 or 3 times just to remember the names, unless you are a fan of the epic poem. So Helen of Troy is John Barthar's wife, while the twin sister, both played by so it just occurred to me that there is a character I wanted to mention the actor, but the character I can't even find any name on. So he's basically another asshole character in this movie. He's an asshole character towards the blind man. So I do want to mention John Leguizamo. I think that's his name, the Leguizamo, as Emmaus. I think he's a blind swineherd. Yes, I'm cheating. I'm looking on Wikipedia for help. Odysseus' faithful servant. This guy was his servant from like day one. He considered Odysseus as a son. He even like trained him or whatever on how to fight. He taught him to always fight smarter, to the point where he actually gives his son Telemachus, Tom Holland's character, he gives him a helpful tip on how to, you know, beat the enemy, so to speak. And he performs this move in practice, you know, with mentor, but, you know, and in the fight scene, he successfully performs it against the guy who I tried to find his name, the actor's name. I don't see the character. He's the guy that I called an asshole. He's one of the suitors, I think. And the reason why I mentioned the blind guy, John Leguizamo, is because this blind swineherd is a target for this asshole. This asshole bullies this blind swineherd, John Leguizamo, because he's blind. He's got one good eye, but he would be considered legally blind because he's fully blind in one eye, but he can barely see in the other eye. Like, he's got some vision, but it's not complete. It's not real sharp. Versus me, I got blurry vision in this one, but my good eye is this. If you have one good eye, you're not legally blind. I'm just saying. Anyway, so he gets picked on by this asshole. I wish I could find the name. I'm gonna try to find at least the actor's name, because so many names, it's such a big cast list. It's not just an A-list casting. Christopher Nolan tried to pull as many people as he could, from Zendaya to Anna Hathaway to this guy I'm trying to mention, to John Bolthall. He was doing Marvel, DC, you name it. This is the only two I can mention, but he was basically trying to make a casting similar to the Game of Thrones. That's my personal opinion. Maybe not on that level, but you get what I mean, right? If Game of Thrones was an actual movie instead of a television series. And so I just can't really find this guy's name. Maybe if I see a picture of him, I will be able to find him. Because I go by faces and not names. Let's just see. I think it might be Cosmo Jarvis. I want to say it might be Cosmo Jarvis. That might be him. He was in some kind of scary movie, but not scary movie. The parody, but oh no, Logan Marshall Green. That's his name. He plays, if I can find the character real quick, and let's see, Logan Marshall Green, open up IMDb, finds his filmography real quick. Didn't mean to make that rhyme, don't have to play or hate the game, bars, album dropping next week. That's from Tyrone Magnus. We're just going to open in the app here. So, Melanthius, I think that's his name, Melanthius. That's the name of Logan Marshall Green's character. Logan Marshall Green, if you don't know what he was in, the scary movie that I'm thinking of is, well, I think it's called Upgrade or something. Apparently he was in Spider-Man Homecoming with Tom Holland. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. So he plays that asshole that was picking on, John, the blind guy, to pick on the blind guy, the blind hold, the Odysseus' faithful servant. Yeah, so he's constantly singling him out, but also he's too loud, and the blind guy calls him a coward for some reason. I never really understood that. I caught that the second time, my second viewing. Anyway, so besides that, yeah, you got a whole cast of characters that I'm most likely missing some people. I know there's a recurring actor from the movie Limitless. He's in another movie, but he plays a significant role. He's one of Odysseus' men. He survives up until the end, into a major monster scene, one of the mythical creatures. It's according to the so-called, and I guess I am going to spoil it at this point, so-called I want to say fortune-telling predictions of Hades, of whatever this entity was that told him possible outcomes of where either all of his men are going to die or just 6 of his men are going to die, and you have to pick the wise decision based on how many men you want to die. You want to die. So apparently Odysseus tells his men they have to avoid the whirlpool, the monstrous whirlpool. They give it a name because everyone will die, but he doesn't tell them at that point. And they ask him, why didn't you tell us? And he said, I forgot the reason. But there's this point where Odysseus asked to be tied up to the sail post of the ship. He wants to hear the siren sing. And his lieutenant says, no one that has heard their song has lived. And he said, that's why it's a good idea. Because, his lieutenant said it's a bad idea. So that's why it's a good idea. And, he hears every single thing that he ever wanted and everything that he ever didn't want happen to him. And this is where that guy that I mentioned earlier, the Asian character, I forgot his name, because I never got a character's name. There was so many actors, I just don't know the names. But yeah, so he dies because, wouldn't you know it, he goes and heads to the Sirens, because apparently the Sirens, their power is to lure you in by presenting you with everything you ever wanted and everything you didn't want, all your hopes, dreams, and regrets. Oh, Will Yoon Lee. Will Yoon Lee, that actor, his character goes off, jumps ship, and swims to the Sirens. Obviously, he dies. So really, all of his men die, but they're not all killed off. I think the point of this movie is it shows them all die, sporadically over time, over their voyage, and you see with dread how much Odysseus's dread is over his men dying. Starting with the whoever died in battle, obviously, but starting with, according to this film, the Cyclops, known as I think his name is Polynemus. He's the son of Poseidon, which that in itself is a subplot. That's kind of a theme in this movie, because they incur Poseidon's wrath. Apparently, there's even a little moment when the Charlize Theron's character, the nymph known as Calypso, she tells Odysseus, you must control your fate. And I thought that she was telling him to control his fate, but actually she was telling him to let go of the control and just give yourself to the gods. Take Poseidon's punishment. Zeus will not let him kill you. And what it's saying is, if this movie does kind of require you to have some background knowledge of Greek mythology. Greek mythology. You would know that Zeus and Poseidon are brothers. Actually, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades are all brothers. They were all three sons of the Titan Kronos. If you follow Percy Jackson or the movie that came out, Clash of the Titans, and the sequel, Wrath of the Titans, you would learn that Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, they each got their three weapons and made a significant weapon that they used against Kronos. The lightning bolt of Zeus, the Poseidon's trident, and Hades' pitchfork. Yeah, that. And I get the trident and the pitchfork confused because they're like the same form. But anyway, so more or less, what I'm saying is Zeus is significant. You never really see a personification for him. The only reason why you have Athena is because apparently, and I did look this up on Wikipedia, I cheated. The woman that Odysseus' men kill in front of him, he has nothing to do with it. It's an innocent woman. She's known as the priest of... She's one of Athena's priests. She's a young little priest that serves Athena, and she's beheaded. That's why the statue of Athena is in the poster, because, and I would tell people, like, pay attention to that statue. You see in the poster, it's important. It is important, because the moment you see that statue beheaded, you know what happens to that young priest, and you see why Odysseus is seeing Athena in the form of this very priest, because not only is she her priest, but this is an innocent inhabitant of Troy, the city that you invaded, breaking Zeus's law, the law that says that there should be a mutual understanding between visitors and host, host and their guest, under the watchful eye of Zeus. They're not supposed to fight each other. They're supposed to come together in peace. And that's why the Trojan statue, the horse, was supposed to be a gift, a marking of peace towards the Trojans, but it was not. It was done with malicious intent. Therefore, Odysseus feels guilty of that very crime, not only breaking Zeus's law, but insulting Athena by killing off her priest while breaking Zeus's law, or after doing the breaking of Zeus's law. So Odysseus is guilty of multiple crimes, if you will, and I say that in quotes because, laws change. They're all based off some religious doctrine of a sort. But yeah, that's the idea, is that he's guilty of because he's simply trying to accomplish one mission, win the war against the Trojans. Because the reason why the actual reason why he had to do all this, it involves his son Telemachus. I still can't say it. Tom Holland's character. It involves him because when he was a baby, if he said no to Agamemnon would have killed young Tom Holland as a baby. Not Tom Holland, but Telemachus. Telemachus, I guess that's his name. Telemachus. He would have killed him because Agamemnon killed his own 6-year-old girl, his wife's daughter, the sister of Helen of Troy. One of the twins that Lupita Ananya, Lananya, whatever her name is, plays. She, you know what I'm talking about. So, and that's actually how Agamemnon. Yeah, I'm spoiling. I still don't care. That's how he's killed by his wife. He has a rather. I should have mentioned the spoiler section. My apologies. I should have given a warning. I mean, so he's killed by his wife. Because she still bears that hatred. Because he sacrificed his wife. He sacrificed his daughter, little kid, for favorable winds. Yeah. So if he's willing to do that to his own blood, his own daughter, he's even more so going to do it with somebody else's kid. Even so much as Odysseus' son. So that's the reason why Odysseus even led this 10-year war. And so with that said, I don't feel like spoiling anymore. I don't think I can really talk about it any more than what anybody else has said. I really just wanted to cover, there is no reason to hate this movie. It does not have to be spot on. I will go on to say that the reason why people are doing it is because they just want views and likes and subscribes. Short for subscribers though. They just want people to see their videos and become subscribers. They're doing it for the algorithm. They don't mean anything. They do mean anything. They do mean something, obviously. But what I'm saying is they don't. They're doing it because of the hate bandwagon that's associated with this film. That's associated with the whole cultural war. So this movie, The Odyssey, is essentially about war. One war in particular, and yet it's amidst a whole cultural war. We have another war. It's like a civil war. It's more like a cold civil war is what we're going through within the United States. Cold civil war. It's a cultural war. And, The Odyssey is one of those more recent films right after Supergirl that has fallen a victim to it. So... anyway, that's all I know to say. Let me know in the comments if I've left out anything, if I have failed to mention anything. I know often I say I'll get to this in a bit, but I may actually forget something. I may forget to get to that thing, because I do digress a bit. I go off topic a lot. So, thanks for watching my ugly face. I know I've got zits, scratch marks, and I need to shave my beard. But it's not as long as Odysseus, or the beggars. I'll just have to tidy up and whatnot. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to presenting more movie reviews, along with other content. I host live streams, I show live stream video games, and, things of that nature, so... be sure to check me out. If not, I don't feel bad. I just wanted to get my own thoughts out there. Alright, that's about it. See you.